था तो सहज रूप से मैंने इस संसद भवन के दौर पक्ति पर अपना शीश झुका करके इस लोकतंत्र के मंदिर को श्रद्धा भाव से नमन करते हुए मैंने पैर रखा था। वो पल मेरे लिए भावनाओं से भरी हुई थी। भारत के लोकतंत्र की ताकत है, भारत के सामान्य मानवी की लोकतंत्र के प्रति श्रद्धा का प्रतिबिंब है कि रेलवे प्लेटफॉर्म पर गुजारा करने वाला एक गरीब परिवार का बच्चा पार्लियामेंट पहुंच गया था।
All right, we're getting in visuals of the cabinet meet, which is currently underway. The Prime Minister chairing it. He just left here from the Parliament a short while ago and right now has reached and chairing that meeting. These visuals filtering in. It would be interesting to note as the Prime Minister meets his cabinet on what's up for consideration. What can we expect in terms of discussion there? One big point which is coming out right now and seeming to suggest is the women reservation bill. Is that what is being considered? In what form is it being considered? I want to cut across back to my colleague Polumi Saha, who's joining us for more on the cabinet meeting as it takes place. Polumi, visuals streaming in of the cabinet meeting being chaired by the Prime Minister. Polumi, can you hear me? All right, we seem to have lost our connection with Polumi, but I'm going to try and ask our other reporters to join us right now, and let's quickly take you through these visuals that are coming in of the cabinet meeting, which is right now underway. Shared by the Prime Minister, these visuals there, what to expect out of it? What can we expect in terms of the cabinet meet? Well, that's the big question. Lots of speculation, anticipation through the day. And it was called this afternoon is what we were given to understand. Before that, of course, the special session of Parliament, which was on. And now, seemingly, what we are given to understand, viewers, is that it will be the women reservation bill. There was so much speculation a while ago. And of course, what happens in the cabinet practically stays in the cabinet. So, I doubt if word will even get out on what is being discussed or what's up for discussion. All right. But what we can say for sure, it's more than what is being designated in terms of parliamentary business over the course of the next 5 days, which has been made public. It's a little more than just those 8 bills that has been made public, especially with what the Prime Minister said, that a historic decision will be made. What is going to be that historic decision? Listen in to the Prime Minister.
संसद का ये सत्र, इस पार्श्वभूमि में संसद का ये सत्र, ये सही है कि सत्र छोटा है, लेकिन समय के हिसाब से ये बहुत बड़ा है। ऐतिहासिक निर्णयों का एक सत्र है। ये सत्र की एक विशेषता ये तो है कि आप 75 साल की यात्रा अब नए मुकाम से आरंभ हो रही है। जिस मुकाम पर 75 साल की यात्रा की, वो अत्यंत प्रेरक पल, और अब नए स्थान पर उस यात्रा को आगे बढ़ाते समय नए संकल्प, नई ऊर्जा, नया विश्वास और समय सीमा में 2047 में इस देश को डेवलप कंट्री बना करके रहना है।
All right, let's quickly get in a word from my colleague Poulomi Saha, who's joining us, as well as Javed Ansari, political analyst, Manisha Prem, political analyst, getting a word from them. But Poulomi, visual streaming in right now of the Prime Minister chairing the cabinet meet.
That's right. You can see images of that cabinet meeting, which in fact we've accessed. Basically, the Prime Minister is chairing this very important cabinet meeting. Those are the words from our sources. It's not what I'm saying at the moment, Preeti. Those pictures shared with us with the words important cabinet meeting underway. So expect that whatever decision this cabinet is signing off as we speak upon right now is going to be something very historic, is what is aimed for this special session of Parliament, as we've been saying through this day, since, of course, we learned from our sources that this cabinet meeting had been called for at 6:30 p.m. this evening. So this cabinet meeting will turn out to be very crucial, because this cabinet right now is meeting and signing off and approving a very important decision, which will probably be brought to the special session of this Parliament, which has already commenced today on Wednesday, when the government takes up its legislative agenda.
All right, Poulomi, appreciate you joining us. Let's quickly cut across to our guests for a quick word in. Javed Ansari, what do you make? Is it going to be the women reservation bill, something that is found itself in the manifestos of a lot of parties, but no real party has shown much intent when it comes down to clearing it?
So let me just correct you. This bill was introduced in 2009 under the UPA government, and that's the bill, if at all the government musters up the courage to take it forward. That's the bill that will be voted on. One, two, it's hazardous. At least I have learned in my experience, it's hazardous to second guess this Prime Minister and this government. The only thing predictable about Prime Minister Modi's government is its unpredictability. I don't have too many friends in the BJP, and whatever little few of them that I have, I tried to contact them this evening, and they in turn were asking me, "Aap bataiye kya hai?" And the organizer headline is perhaps a pointer. The organizer, as we all know, is the mouthpiece of the RSS, and it says, "Guess what?" So everybody has been kept guessing, but the Prime Minister has laid the groundwork in his remarks in the car park of Parliament. It says, "Itihasik nirnay hoga," historic decisions. So he's set the stage. The Prime Minister believes in dramatic decisions, whether it's demonetization, 370. So I won't be surprised if he comes up with something surprising.
Itihasik decision hoga, historic decision. But Manisha Prem, I want to bring you in. You know, it's a little surreal. You've been somebody who's tracked the Parliament proceedings for a while right now. But a bill which is time, or women reservation, the time seems to have come, if at all. This is all conjecture. In 2023, when in 1947, the Constituent Assembly thought it unnecessary. And even after that, the bill might have been introduced in 2009 by the Congress and the UPA, but many allies of the UPA were not on board. Therefore, it never got cleared in the Lok Sabha.
Yes, even now, some of the regional parties, such as the BJD, seem to be talking about the need for the bill. And in fact, all regional parties now talk about women being a very important part of the electorate, sans caste, the Chuppa voters, the silent voters of Nitish Kumar, the Labharthis of Uttar Pradesh. So, albeit women have become a vote bank, so to say, for most political parties, regional or national, the women's reservation bill has been a no-no. Now, I do feel that in this Parliament, an announcement can be made whether it will be able to clear, that roadblock that appears. Because remember, as much as there is talk of women's equality and gender equality, there's also the reliance even of the BJP on strongmen and their politics, especially to the north of the Vindhyas in the state of Uttar Pradesh. We've seen how difficult it's been for the party to take any action on somebody like Brij Bhushan Charan Singh. So you cannot, on the one hand, have a real politic which is based on reliance on strongmen, and on the other side, talk about a women's reservation bill. As far as Atihasik Nirnay is concerned, I do believe that the Prime Minister will talk about a few things that he spoke about even from the Red Fort on 15th of August. Perhaps a roadmap that could be about taking India to 2047 as a developed nation, Now, what that could be, is that an economic import? That I do not know, but I think that will be one. My second guess is that the Prime Minister openly spoke against the politics of Tushtikaran. He said development, yes, but Tushtikaran, no. Now, what I can hazard a guess at best is that perhaps some form of the CAA implementation, granting citizenship rights, to Hindus who've come from the neighboring countries, and that's purely a guess. So some amount of implementation of the promises that the Prime Minister made from the ramparts of the Red Fort. Now, what the exact dimensions will be, it's only for the Prime Minister who can lay this bare in front of the Parliament. But this will be a clear messaging of his leadership style and his imprint on the BJP as its most important political leader. And I don't know exactly what is in store, but I do think it's 2047, India is a developed nation, and also against the politics of Tushtikaran,
Right.
to distinguish the BJP from other political parties.
Right. It's interesting because Manisha Prem, you're coming up with what could be the probabilities. What we seem to suggest right now, is in all probabilities it could be the women reservation bill. But no, we don't want to, say anything for sure because this is all conjecture. But what we're given to understand that it points towards the women reservation bill. But having said that, I'm going to go into a quick break. We're back with the latest because, of course, the cabinet is meeting and speculations on what could be the historic decision. But also what was historic is marking 75 years of the journey of the Indian Parliament. We're going to be joined by our guests on the other side. To stay with us.
बदलना है तो अब हालात बदलो, बदलना है तो अब हालात बदलो, ऐसे नाम बदलने से क्या होता है। देना है तो युवाओं को रोजगार दो, सबको बेरोजगार करके क्या होता है। दिल को थोड़ा बड़ा करके देखो, लोगों को मारने से क्या होता है। दिल को थोड़ा बड़ा करके देखो, लोगों के मारने से क्या होता है। कुछ कर नहीं सकते तो कुर्सी छोड़ दो। बात बात में डराने से क्या होता है। बात में डराने से क्या होता है। अपनी हुक्मरानी पर तुम्हें गुरूर है, लोगों को डराने से धमकाने से क्या होता है।
मैं पहली बार जब संसद का सदस्य बना और पहली बार एक सांसद के रूप में इस भवन में मैंने प्रवेश किया तो सहज रूप से मैंने इस संसद भवन के दौर पक्ति पर अपना शीश झुका करके इस लोकतंत्र के मंदिर को श्रद्धा भाव से नमन करते हुए मैंने पैर रखा था। वो पल मेरे लिए भावनाओं से भरी हुई थी। मैं कल्पना नहीं कर सकता था, लेकिन भारत के लोकतंत्र की ताकत है, भारत के सामान्य मानवी की लोकतंत्र के प्रति श्रद्धा का प्रतिबिंब है कि रेलवे प्लेटफॉर्म पर गुजारा करने वाला एक गरीब परिवार का बच्चा पार्लियामेंट पहुंच गया। मैंने कभी कल्पना तक नहीं की कि देश मुझे इतना सम्मान देगा, इतना आशीर्वाद देगा इतना प्यार देगा, सोचा नहीं था अध्यक्ष।
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Well, millets are not just ordinary bland, coarse grains that we think they are. In fact, they're widely used in a variety of food items nowadays. They're used in porridges, ragi cookies, even desserts, pasta, noodles. A variety of products are now found in the market made of millets. And that's the reason why our next report is going to focus solely on the business of millets in India.
Catching up with the new health fad, many big FMCG firms such as Nestle, Britannia, and Hindustan Unilever are launching new millet-based products to stay abreast of competition in order to both not be left behind and to also capture a bigger share of the $2 billion global market, which is expected to grow to $14 billion in the next 5 years. Seeing the value of the burgeoning market, the industry is working overtime to bring products such as the obvious flour to the creative millet-based chocolate nutrition drink with breads, biscuits, oats, noodles, chips, and cereals in the middle.
Millets can substitute everything what we are eating these days. We have tried millet kadhi as well. We have replaced besan with one of the millets, which is proso millet. We have created a lot of jobs, local jobs in and around that millet value chain. Many primary processors have come up and they are buying from farmers directly, and then they are selling it to the market.
A study by Yes Bank finds that India has the potential to export millet and millet-based value-added products worth $2 billion by 2030. That's the opportunity players don't want to miss. India is already ahead of most nations when it comes to millets production and produces 40% of the global output and 80% of Asia's production. What about the demand?
There is a growing demand perception in millets, because of which the millets rates have gone up. Right now, the uptake is more novelty driven. Uptake is more by people who are looking at healthier option. If we need to see mass wave of millet happening, we need to have uptake happening in the bottom of the pyramid.
Millets clearly have all it takes to make it the right choice as the food of the future. With Dhruv Yadav, Euro Report, India Today.
Kerala public health. All political parties traveling from different parts.
Armed with facts,
Looking at political back.
she takes the news by its horns.
You think the future of these students are not hampered?
Fierce, bold, and direct, setting the tone for the biggest stories from every corner and every angle. Expect nothing but the unfiltered truth.
News first, niceties later. Watch me, Nabila Jamal, on India Today.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Powered by UBI, good people to bank with. Co-powered by PolicyBazaar.com, हर family होगी insured.
Good evening, viewers. You're watching To The Point. I'm Preeti Chaudhary. While anticipation, suspense, speculation continues on why was the special joint session of Parliament called. Also, the cabinet of the Modi government meeting right now. What is it that they have up their sleeve? We're going to get you all of that, but also to put the focus on what was today. In terms of discussion where the Parliament was concerned, to talk of the glorious 75 years of the Indian Parliament. The Prime Minister gave a speech recalling the very inception of the Parliament of Pandit Nehru, Indira Gandhi, Vajpayee, Shastri speaking of how he walked into the hallowed halls of the Parliament. But away from that, you know, there have been speeches that have been made on the floor of this building right behind me. And, it gives you a bit of deep sense of nostalgia, because for all of us who've reported here, this building turns into a museum very soon, because from tomorrow, the business shifts to the new. The old will give way to the new, not without, like I said, a CPR tinted moment of nostalgia, which will go into the annals of Indian political history, is this iconic building behind me. I'm going to take you through some of those iconic speeches which were made on the floor of this iconic building.
At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom. A moment comes, which comes but rarely in history, when we step out from the old to the new, when an age ends, and when the soul of a nation, long suppressed, finds utterance. It is fitting that at this solemn moment, we take the pledge of dedication to the service of India and her people, and to the still larger cause of humanity.
पहले चर्चा हुई कि कुछ शर्तें लगाई जा रही, फिर चर्चा हुई कि कोऑर्डिनेटिंग कमेटी बनाना पड़ेगी। फ्लोर पर भी हम लोग कोऑर्डिनेशन करते हैं, उसके बिना तो सदन नहीं चलता। आप सारा देश चलाना चाहते हैं, बड़ी अच्छी बात है, हमारी शुभकामनाएं आपके साथ हैं। हम अपने देश की सेवा के कार्य में जुटे रहेंगे। हम संख्या बल के सामने सर झुकाते हैं और आपको विश्वास दिलाते हैं कि जो कार्य हमने अपने हाथ में लिया है, वो जब तक राष्ट्रीय उद्देश्य पूरा नहीं कर लेंगे, तब तक विश्राम से नहीं बैठेंगे, तब तक आराम से नहीं बैठेंगे। अध्यक्ष महोदय, मैं अपना त्याग पत्र राष्ट्रपति महोदय को देने जा रहा हूँ।
प्रणवदा, रिफॉर्म वो होता है जिससे देश के लोगों की जिंदगी सुधरे। रिफॉर्म वो नहीं होता जिससे अमेरिका में इमेज सुधरे। अंतरराष्ट्रीय जगत में छवि सुधारने से रिफॉर्म नहीं होता। रिफॉर्म तब होगा जब हिंदुस्तान की अर्थव्यवस्था को हार्वर्ड और ऑक्सफोर्ड नहीं समझा सकते। प्रणवदा, हिंदुस्तान की अर्थव्यवस्था को वो समझा सकते बात करता है, जो टुकिया कह करके बात करता है। आप उर्दू जबान समझते हैं बहुत अच्छी तरह से, और शेरों में बहुत बड़ी ताकत होती है अपनी बात को आसानी से, सहजता से कहने की। आज एक शेर पूछ करके मैं आपसे जवाब पूछना चाहती हूँ। तू इधर उधर की ना बात कर, ये बता कि काफिला क्यों लूटा। तू इधर उधर की ना बात कर, ये बता कि काफिला क्यों लूटा। हमें रहजनों से गिरा नहीं, तेरी रहबरी का ख्याल है, तेरी रहबरी।
हमको है उनसे वफा की उम्मीद, जो जानते भी नहीं वफा क्या है।
शेर का कभी उधार नहीं रखा जाता। मैं प्रधानमंत्री का ये उधार चुकता करना चाहती हूँ। एक नहीं 2 शेर पढ़ के। पहला, फिर उन पे उधार हो जाएगा। पहला, प्रधानमंत्री जी, कुछ तो मजबूरियां रही होंगी, कुछ तो मजबूरियां रही होंगी, यूं ही कोई बेवफा नहीं होता। और मजबूरी क्या है? हमारी मजबूरी ये है कि आप इस देश के साथ बेवफाई कर रहे हैं, इसलिए हम आपके प्रति वफादार नहीं रह सकते।
नेहरू जी ने कहा था कि अटल एक दिन तुम देश का प्रधानमंत्री बनेगा, आपने कहा था। ये लिखा हुआ है रिकॉर्ड में, आपने कहा था। तो आप एक बार नहीं, आप 2 बार हो गए। नेहरू जी तो एक बार बोले, आप हो गए 2 बार। आप तो जान छोड़िए मुल्क का। वहां हो गए, उसको कहने दीजिए, वहां हो गए।
The fact is, viewers, there have been many more speeches which have been made on the floor of the parliament, some of them iconic. Many of our viewers would be, right now suggesting or telling us that why haven't you played that or picked that? Well, this was just the last minute, just a clutch of the few speeches. We're going to keep giving out more through the course of the next 5 days. So be tuned as we'll pull out some of the finest speeches that have been made on the floor of the parliament. But having said that, as we celebrate and reflect and introspect on where we have come after 75 years in the terms of India's parliament journey, I'm joined this evening by former Lok Sabha Speaker Meera Kumar. She presided over the Lok Sabha from 2009-2014. And at this juncture, Ms. Kumar, you were the first woman's Lok Sabha Speaker that India ever saw. And we could possibly, like I said, it's conjecture, but standing on the cusp of a women reservation vote. We're also joined by consulting editor Rajdeep Sardesai, political analyst Javed Ansari, political analyst Manisha Prem. Cutting across to Meera Kumar first. Ma'am, for somebody who's been the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, it's come a full circle, 75 years. Today we celebrate the journey of the Indian Parliament. How do you see it in terms of reflection, celebration or introspection?
You see, it is certainly a new chapter. But then we have to see that where we are going. Today, our population is the largest in the world. And in that population, the largest number is that of the poor. Now we have a new parliament building. But this building is grand, this building is beautiful. But then it should have the agenda of eliminating poverty and bringing these people out of the poverty, bringing respect to their lives, bringing security to their lives, happiness to their lives. And we are still persisting with the caste system. When are we going to get rid of it? The agenda, a very important agenda of the parliament, when it's shifting to a new building, should be to eliminate the caste system and respect for women. You see what is happening in Manipur, what is happening in so many other parts of the country towards women. So respect for women is another thing which should be an agenda of the parliament when it shifts to a new building. And
Ms. Kumar,
how many between? It's a multi-religious country. It's a multi-religious country. And in that country, how people should live by respecting each other's religion is very important. And this parliament should represent that. It's very important. The soul of the building is this is what it is. This is what
Right.
it should be.
Ms. Kumar, you're right in the sense that, there needs to be introspection, especially in terms of the sessions we've seen in the recent past, which have been complete washouts. In terms of debate, we've seen possibly some of the finest oratory that we've seen on the floor of the House. The level of debate might have maybe fallen a little, got into more of politics, but the sheer fact that what now is behind me on what you presided over in one of the houses is going to be relegated as this beautiful sepia tinted image, which will be recorded in the annals of Indian political history. Ms. Kumar, what would be your takeaway, your memory of that?
Yes, it has been a long journey. It has been a fruitful journey. We came out of the foreign yoke, and at this moment, I also very respectfully remember our freedom fighters, because of whom all this has become possible. So our country got independence, and then it had nothing. At that time, we had nothing. And how we have built our nation should be remembered. How we have built our nation building. That was very challenging. This is what was undertaken in the initial years, in the first few decades of this country's journey towards its goal of having socio-economic equality.
Ms. Kumar, where speakers are concerned, you had an inimitable style. And if you allow me, there's no way is anyone making fun, but it's gone down as something that everyone remembers, where, a very composed Meera Kumar would tell a raucous house, "Baith jaiye, baith jaiye." If you allow me, I'm going to play that once and I'm going to come back to you because, you've been featured in many memes. You've been part of popular culture in terms of, what you used to say in Parliament has actually been remixed into various songs right now in terms of popular culture. I just want to play it for you and I want to come right back, man.
बैठ जाइए अधीर रंजन जी. No, nothing will go in record. संजय निरुपम जी, आप भी बैठ जाइए. Nothing will go in record except what LOP is saying. हाँ, बोलिए. आप क्यों खड़े हैं, गणेश सिंह जी? आप बैठ जाइए. मैं सदन को ये बताना चाहती हूँ. रमा देवी जी बैठ जाइए, बैठिए.
Ms. Kumar, that bet jaiye, what you would say. Many of our viewers who possibly didn't watch parliamentary proceedings still know of that. And it's a fabulous way to look at it because people still recall you being a very calm, composed speaker, where reprimanding the House would come in as a bet jaiye.
Oh, I enjoy it because I always said, "Baith jaiye." After all, you have come here not to stand. The people have not sent you to stand, and then we have so many seats here. So you have come here to sit, not to stand. No, I enjoy it.
I'm glad you see, I was a little nervous asking you that question, but I'm glad you see the fun side of it. Any personal memories, Ms. Meera Kumar, because then we're going to thank you for joining us, but any personal memories of your stint as the first woman Lok Sabha speaker?
Any personal moment? Personal moment is that I always ordered lots and lots of rasgullas, and whenever the honorable members came to my office, I first offered them rasgulla, and then I said, "Then you tell me what you want me to do, but first eat the rasgulla." And rasgulla has a lot of power. It can calm down a person.
Well, I can't agree more. Thank you. Rasgulla can solve a lot of things. Let's see if any of the current speakers have taken that as a tip. Appreciate you joining us, ma'am. Thank you there. Let's cut across to our political panelists this evening. Rajdeep Sardesai, for someone who's covered many seasons of Indian Parliament, where do you see it stand 75 years now? The journey of Parliament, introspection, celebration, reflection.
Preeti, I think that's a very good question. I do believe that we are on the crossroads or the intersection of celebration and introspection. Yes, you can celebrate the fact that you're moving to a new parliament building tomorrow after all these years having been spent in this particular building that has huge historical significance stretching back to the Constituent Assembly debates of the 1940s. But it is also a time of introspection for Parliament as an institution. Remember, Preeti, this 17th Lok Sabha has seen the least number of Parliament sittings. At the start of the 5th year of this Lok Sabha, Parliament had met just 231 times. That's an average of about 56 to 58 times a year, the lowest ever. Of course, this includes the COVID year when Parliament met for just about 20 times. But either way, the number of sittings have significantly reduced. The number of bills passed without discussion have significantly reduced. The number of bills that are sent to select committees, standing committees of Parliament have reduced. The number of ordinances that are brought in without consultation with Parliament have increased. The amount of time wasted during question hour has increased. The number of questions have reduced. The number of adjournments have increased. All of this, I think, suggests that Parliament is facing a serious crisis, a crisis of the institution and its ability to be seen for what it was meant to be, as our primary legislation making body, with equal space being given in a way to both the government and the opposition. In recent times, we've even seen the treasury benches, almost unprecedented, disrupting Parliament. So it's not just the opposition. Even government benches have disrupted Parliament in recent times. You'll recall over Rahul Gandhi's comments, for example, earlier this year on the Adani question. So this is a time for both sides across the aisle, government and opposition, to really introspect and ask themselves, why did they become parliamentarians and what useful purpose is Parliament really providing at the moment?
Javed, I want to bring you in on this. For somebody who's had possibly the maximum experience of at least who I know, who've seen so many seasons of Parliament and had the privilege to cover so many governments in Parliament. In terms of speeches, in terms of watershed moments, what do you remember?
Well, many Parliament has had its highs and lows, and I've been fortunate to have been present there for the last close to 40 years. Well, Dr. Manmohan Singh's speech when he opened up the economy, when he presented the budget, the tumultuous debates in Parliament in the lead up to and after the demolition of Babri Masjid, the December 17, 1991 debate, the stellar performance put up by Mr. Chandrasekhar and Nitish Kumar, Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee. I was also present in the House when, in response to India's atomic explosion, Pakistan reciprocated with 5 explosions. The House was in session and there was a bit of commotion. And then the senior leaders got together, they trooped out of the House. House continued functioning and they decided it would not adjourn. It sat for 45 extra minutes just to send a message to the world, particularly to our adversaries across the border, that we are not shaken. It's business as usual. So I've seen Parliament at loggerheads. I've seen how parliamentarians have come together, and just to lighten the mood, there was I'll recall Mr. Jaipal Reddy. He made this remark in Parliament saying that it's a humongous lie, and the BJP was in power, and they were up in. There was a huge uproar. After the House was adjourned and it met, Prime Minister Vajpayee says, "भाई आप ऐसी अंग्रेजी बोला कीजिए जो सबको समझ में आए." And इसका मतलब क्या होता है? Explain. And there was Renuka Chaudhary. She walked up in good humor. She pointed to her hips and said, "Humongous is me. This is humongous." And that's how they diffused a very tense situation. I've witnessed Parliament when it's been adjusted. I've witnessed Parliament when parliamentarians have come together. It's been accommodative. It's been inclusive. So I do believe it's all very well to name former prime ministers. It's also important to imbibe some of the things that we stood for and to give to restore to Parliament the primacy once enjoyed in the eyes of prime ministers.
Right. Manisha, Priyam, your biggest takeaways as we hand over, the old to the new.
So I do remember now what is the old building, the museum building of the parliament, very fondly. Very deep memories attached at a personal level also. But I do think a few very important moments that were watershed moments. Remember, prior to the emergency, when Indira Gandhi was usurping power, and there's a ding-dong battle between the parliament and the judiciary, the basic structure doctrine putting in place what the parliament could enact and what it could do. And that kind of laid the way between a balanced role between the parliament and the judiciary. But then post 77, you had a new government coming in power. The Congress very wary of those who came into power then, led by Morarji Desai. But soon, power was such a glue that it could not bind the disparate political parties that had come in, and Indira Gandhi came back with a majority. So, you heard in Chikmagalur, the cries of her being a Sherni. She fought back and came back to power. Once again, the VP Singh moment, when the Congress's own majority was ruptured by someone who broke ranks, and a new government that comes to power. But the moments that I remember the most was the no confidence motion against a weak Narasimha Rao government, and how Govind Charan Munda's lone vote saved that government from falling. And of course, I would agree with Meera Kumar on a personal note. My mother was then a
Manisha,
member of parliament. The rasgullas tasted really nice, and that's something I will remember.
All right. On that note, I'm going to close the show. We're terribly out of time. Appreciate you all for joining us, but we're going to continue this conversation as we continue the politics and the developments and the speculations around it. Thank you for joining us.
आतंकी हमला हुआ, पूरे विश्व में यह आतंकी हमला एक इमारत पर नहीं था, ये मदर ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी एक प्रकार से हमारी जीवात्मा पर यह हमला था। ये देश उस घटना को कभी भूल नहीं सकता है, लेकिन आतंकियों से लड़ते लड़ते सदन को बचाने के लिए और हर सदस्य को बचाने के लिए जिन्होंने अपने सीने पर गोलियां झेली, आज मैं उनको भी नमन करता हूं।
Sanatan Rao refuses to die down. BJP has launched a fresh attack against Congress for not cutting ties with DMK and for anti-Sanatan stance, while the Congress has asserted that the India alliance was tolerant towards all religions. Here's a report.
சிலவற்றை நாம் ஒழிக்கத்தான் வேண்டும், எதிர்க்க முடியாது. கொசு, டெங்கு காய்ச்சல், மலேரியா, கொரோனா இதையெல்லாம் நம்ம எதிர்க்க கூடாது, ஒழித்து கட்ட வேண்டும்.
DMK and its Crown Prince Udayanithi Stalin's abuse attacks on Hinduism, giving political fodder to the BJP, which is now pressuring the Congress to cut ties with its Tamil Nadu ally. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman slammed Udayanithi for hurt religious sentiments, wondering if CM Stalin's son will speak on other religions. Facing backlash, the Congress came out with the damage control. Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah said Opposition India Alliance is not against any religion.
ಯಾವ ಧರ್ಮದ ವಿರುದ್ಧ ಎಲ್ಲ ಧರ್ಮಗಳನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಸಮಾನವಾಗಿ ಕಾಣ್ತೀವಿ. ಧರ್ಮ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು? ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಎ ವೇ ಆಫ್ ಲೈಫ್. ಜನರಿಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಧರ್ಮ, ಧರ್ಮಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಜನ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಧರ್ಮ ಮನುಷ್ಯನ ಒಳತಿಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಬಸವಣ್ಣವ್ರು ಏನ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು? ದಯೇ ಧರ್ಮದ ಮೂಲವಯ್ಯ, ದಯೆ ಇಲ್ಲದ ಧರ್ಮವ್ಯಾವುದಯ್ಯ. ಯಾರು ಹೇಳಿರೋದು? ಬಸವಾದಿ ಶರಣ. ಅದರಿಂದ ಧರ್ಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಕರುಣೆ ಇರಬೇಕು, ದಯೆ ಇರಬೇಕು, ಮನುಷ್ಯತ್ವ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಅದು ಧರ್ಮ ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರಕಾರ.
However, BJP was quick to hit back at Siddaramaiah, posting a video of him refusing to wear tilak, questioning why he never objected to wearing a Muslim cap. Earlier, Congress ally DMK had left out a slew of hate rants against Sanatan Dharma, equating it with leprosy, AIDS, dengue, and malaria, and calling for its eradication. The attacks had led to a furious counter from PM Modi, who branded India bloc anti-Hindu.
ऐसी सनातन संस्कृति को समाप्त करने का ऐलान इंडी अलायंस के लोगों ने किया है। छत्तीसगढ़ के लोगों को, देश के लोगों को इनसे बहुत सतर्क रहना है। ये भारत की हजारों साल से चली आ रही संस्कृति को मिटाना चाहते हैं, ये भारत को मिटाना चाहते हैं।
Will the Sanatan slander intensify the government versus opposition war? Bureau Report, India Today.
The first ever special session of Parliament was convened on 14th and 15th August to mark India's independence.
At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom.
The next one happened in November 1962. India was at war with China. The winter session of Parliament in 1962 was advanced and a special session was convened on November 8. Question hour was suspended after an agreement between the ruling and opposition parties, with the session closing the very next day on 9th November. 10 years later, the next special session was called on 15th August to mark the silver jubilee of India's independence. 20 more years later, the next special session of Parliament would be convened in the 90s. A midnight session was called on 9th August 1992 to celebrate the 50th year anniversary of the Quit India movement.
I would, at the outset, like to extend my greetings to my fellow citizens, the men and women, and the youth and the children of India. The Golden Jubilee celebrations are drawing to a close, but the spirit of August 15 and the ideals and the aspirations symbolized by it remain to be pursued with dedication and with renewed vigor.
5 years later, on 15th August 1997, a midnight session was convened to mark 50 years of India's independence. Within 10 days of this session, another special session was convened for 5 days to focus on the path to development after 50 years of independence from 26th August to 1st September.
This time, the struggle should be for freedom from our own internal contradictions, between our prosperity and poverty, between the plenty of our resource endowments and the scarcity of their prudent management, between our culture of peace and tolerance and our current conduct, sliding towards violence, intolerance, and discrimination.
In the new millennium, Parliament's special session was held between November 26th and 27th of 2015 to pay tribute to the father of Indian Constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, on his 125th birth anniversary. A midnight session without any debate was called on 30th June 2017 to roll out GST across the country.
May I request the Honorable Rashtrapati ji and the Prime Minister and other dignitaries to come up and press the button and officially launch the GST.
Presented by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, Growing Legacy. Co-presented by Sensory Laminates by Manish Malhotra, Fashion for your furniture. Co-presented by Macho Hand, Bade Aaram Se. Co-powered by PolicyBazaar.com, Har family hogi insured. Co-powered by the bold look of Kohler. UBI, good people to bank with.
Good evening and welcome. You're watching the news track. I'm Rahul Kamal. On the show this evening, we'll get you the inside track on the big Modi government cabinet meeting that is on at this moment, where we are being told that key bills are being discussed. An important meeting taking place in New Delhi of the Modi government's cabinet. We'll try and get you the inside track. The government keeping matters very hush-hush. There was a big speech from the Prime Minister as the special session to mark the move into the new Parliament building began. We'll get you all the details. The PM spoke of this being monumental, historic. So what's cooking? We'll try and tell you on the news track tonight.
Special Sansad session kicks off.
खट्टे मीठे अनुभव भी रहे हैं, नोकझोंक भी रही है.
Prime Minister hints at historic decisions.
समय के हिसाब से ये बहुत बड़ा है. ऐतिहासिक निर्णयों का एक सत्र है.
Big Bang announcement afoot.
75 साल की यात्रा हम नए मुकाम से आरंभ हो रही.
Routine reforms और बड़ा धमाका.
ये सदन छोड़ना भावुकपन है, मैं पक्का मानता.
What's up Modi government sleeve?
माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के विजन की सराहना करता हूं.
The full inside track right here. Top focus on News Track.
We have the full plan for tomorrow as the MP shift from the old Parliament building to the new, but the biggest question swirling in the capital and across the country, kya dhamaka hone wala hai? What is it that the cabinet meeting is discussing? Will there indeed be a mountain or will there just be a molehill? So all of that and more, we've got our reporters on the ground. We'll get you the inside story that they've been able to pick up from their sources. Let's get started. Here are the headlines I'm tracking tonight. Crucial cabinet meeting underway. Call to be taken on bills that will be introduced in the special session of Parliament. PM Modi says historic decisions will be taken. PM Modi's big message to the opposition netas as the special session kicks off. PM says time to stop Rona Dhona and get back to work. Trouble in the BJP AIADMK alliance in Tamil Nadu. AIADMK leader Jai Kumar declares there is no tie-up with the Saffron Party, blames BJP Tamil Nadu chief Annamalai for the discord. Tamil Nadu Governor Ravi hits out at the DMK, says jihadis want to eradicate Sanatan Dharma. Yog Guru Ramdev says abusing Hinduism will fail in 2024. BJP accuses Congress of plagiarizing former Pakistan PM Imran Khan's theme song as their poll tune says Congress wants to convert Madhya Pradesh into Pakistan. special session of Parliament is currently on. Tomorrow, MPs will shift to the new SoSouth building. There is big suspense over what legislations the Modi government intends to bring in. The centre has shared a list of 8 tentative bills, but they seem rather routine. The question is, what is the surprise the Prime Minister and his government have up their sleeves?
An emotive farewell to an era. A day before the dawn that heralds a grand shift. To a gleaming new home for democracy.
हम सब इस ऐतिहासिक भवन से विदा ले रहे हैं। आजादी के पहले ये सदन इंपीरियल लेजिस्लेटिव काउंसिल का स्थान हुआ करता था। आजादी के बाद ये संसद भवन के रूप में उसको पहचान मिली।
The 5-day special session of Parliament set to be moved to the new house on Tuesday on the occasion of Ganesh Chaturthi.
ये सदन से विदाई लेना एक बहुत ही भावुक पल है। खट्टे मीठे अनुभव भी रहे हैं, नोकझोंक भी रही है, कभी संघर्ष का माहौल भी रहा है और कभी इसी सदन में उत्सव और उमंग का माहौल भी रहा है। ये सारी स्मृतियां हमारे साथ, हम सबकी साझी स्मृतियां हैं। उनके मुताबिक
The final moments in the old Parliament building abuzz with speculations though. The government has circulated the legislative agenda featuring at least 8 bills during this sitting. But the opposition MPs insist that the timing of the session has left room for potential surprises.
What is in the agenda of the government, we are still not aware of it. So we are still in dark because these sessions and the bills that have been listed don't correlate.
Meanwhile, calls also surfaced for the passage of the Women's Reservation Bill in this sitting.
I think it is a high time now that ये इनका पास बहुमत है और ऑर्डिनेंस पे ऑर्डिनेंस ये करते जा रहे थे, तो ये महिला रिजर्वेशन बिल, विमेंस रिजर्वेशन बिल विद फुल मेजॉरिटी अभी तक क्यों नहीं हुआ, यही प्रश्न है।
MPs from the Bharat Rashtra Samiti held a symbolic protest to make the same demand. Congress owned up the women reservation bill as its own brainchild.
You didn't see our parliament CWC resolution. Actually, it is the brainchild of Indian National Congress and UPA. We given 50% of women reservation in local parliament, that is local bodies.
Outside the House, Prime Minister Modi announced the session would witness historic decisions.
ये सत्र छोटा है, लेकिन समय के हिसाब से ये बहुत बड़ा है। ऐतिहासिक निर्णयों का एक सत्र है। सत्र की एक विशेषता ये तो है कि आप 75 साल की यात्रा अब नए मुकाम से आरंभ हो रही है।
Anticipation hangs in the air as democracy prepares to set into its new home. Bureau Report, India Today.
Let me show you now some of the key highlights of what the Prime Minister said during his address in this special session of Parliament. There are some clues and everyone at this moment searching for hints about what the Prime Minister intends to do during this special session.
नेहरू जी, शास्त्री जी, वहां से लेकर के अटल जी, मनमोहन सिंह जी तक एक बहुत बड़ी श्रृंखला जिसने इस सदन का नेतृत्व किया है और सदन के माध्यम से देश को दिशा दी है, देश को नए रंग रूप में ढालने के लिए उन्होंने परिश्रम किया है, पुरुषार्थ किया है। आज उन सबका गौरवगान करने का भी अवसर है। ये वो सदन है जहां पंडित जी को इसलिए भी याद किया, अनेक बातों के लिए याद किया जाएगा, लेकिन हम जरूर याद करेंगे इसी सदन में पंडित नेहरू का एट द स्ट्रोक ऑफ मिडनाइट की गूंज हम सबको प्रेरित करती रहेगी। इसी सदन में अटल जी ने कहा था, वो शब्द आज भी गूंज रहे हैं इस सदन में, सरकारें आएगी जाएगी, पार्टियां बनेगी बिगड़ेगी, लेकिन ये देश रहना चाहिए। अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जी का सरकार भी हमने इसी सदन में देखी। सर्व शिक्षा अभियान देश में आज वो महत्वपूर्ण बन गया है। आदिवासी कार्यालय मंत्रालय अटल जी ने बनाया, नॉर्थ ईस्ट का मंत्रालय अटल जी ने बनाया, न्यूक्लियर टेस्ट भारत के सामर्थ्य का परिचायक बन गया। मैं पहली बार जब संसद का सदस्य बना और पहली बार एक सांसद के रूप में इस भवन में मैंने प्रवेश किया, तो सहज रूप से मैंने इस संसद भवन के दो पक्ति पर अपना शीश झुका करके इस लोकतंत्र के मंदिर को श्रद्धा भाव से नमन करते हुए मैंने पैर रखा था। वो पल मेरे लिए भावनाओं से भरी हुई थी। भारत के लोकतंत्र की ताकत है, भारत के सामान्य मानवी की लोकतंत्र के प्रति श्रद्धा का प्रतिबिंब है कि रेलवे प्लेटफॉर्म पर गुजारा करने वाला एक गरीब परिवार का बच्चा पार्लियामेंट पहुंच गया। मैंने कभी कल्पना तक नहीं की थी कि देश मुझे इतना सम्मान देगा, इतना आशीर्वाद देगा, इतना प्यार देगा। सोचा नहीं था।
The biggest question, of course, what's cooking in the cabinet? Joining me for perspective, we've got Shehzad Poonawala, national spokesperson of the BJP. With us on the show is Dr. Shama Mohammed from the Congress. Ranjana Kumari is the director of the Center for Social Research. Well-known women's rights activist Sanjay Jha joins us. And we've got Rajat Sethi. But I want to go across to our boots on the ground. Paulomi Saha and Himanshu Mishra are with us. Let me put the tough question to Himanshu first. Himanshu, you have deep penetration in the BJP, RSS. बताओ हमारे दर्शकों को कैबिनेट की मीटिंग में क्या चर्चा चल रही है?
देखिए राहुल, जो भी कुछ है वो कैबिनेट में बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट होने वाला है और मुझे लगता है कई तरीके के कयास जो है वो लगाए जा रहे हैं, चाहे वो वुमेन रिजर्वेशन बिल को लेकर हो या ओबीसी की जो रिजर्वेशन की कैप है उसको बढ़ाने का हो, यानी कि आरक्षण का जो कैप है 49% उसको बढ़ाने का हो या कुछ नए अलग स्टेट बनाने का हो। लेकिन इतना जरूर है, अभी तक कुछ भी क्लियर नहीं है और बहुत कैबिनेट का जो एजेंडा है वो सर्कुलेट नहीं किया गया था और सभी मंत्रियों को जो है ऑन टेबल ही जो एजेंडा है वो सर्कुलेट किया जा रहा है, किया गया है। तो ये माना जा सकता है कि सरकार बहुत सधे हुए तरीके से संसद के इस विशेष सत्र में अपने एजेंडे को लेकर आएगी और इसीलिए अमूमन जो है कैबिनेट, ज्यादातर कैबिनेट जो है वो बुधवार को होती है, लेकिन आज सोमवार के दिन बुलाई गई है जब संसद के विशेष सत्र का पहला दिन है और 6:30 बजे से ये कैबिनेट चल रही है। लगभग 1 घंटे से ज्यादा का समय जो है वो हो चुका है। तो अब ये माना जा सकता है कि कुछ ऐसे बिल लाए जाएंगे जो ना सिर्फ अपकमिंग विधानसभा इलेक्शंस जो है उनका और बल्कि 2024 के जो चुनाव है लोकसभा के उसका पूरा का पूरा जो सोशल इंजीनियरिंग है वो बदल देगा।
Okay, Paulomi, what do you know over and beyond what Himanshu said, and also give our viewers a sense of what to expect? I'm told there's this very dramatic ceremony where the Prime Minister, with the Constitution in his hand, will walk from the old Parliament to the new. All the MPs will come with him. So all that's being planned for tomorrow.
That's right. There is a very elaborate program that the government has planned tomorrow to transition, in fact, from the old Parliament building to the new Parliament building. All parliamentarians from both houses have been called into Parliament by about 9:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. There'll be a photo session that will happen against the backdrop of the Central Hall in the old Parliament building. So first, the Lok Sabha MPs will take a picture, the Rajya Sabha MPs will take a picture, and then there'll be a joint picture of parliamentarians from both houses of Parliament. after that, I beg your pardon, there'll be an elaborate program that will take place inside, again, the old Parliament building, where, of course, there will be reminiscing of the past 75 years of India's parliamentary democracy, and a resolution which will be adopted to, in fact, ensure that India is one of the most large developed economies by 2047. That will happen. The Prime Minister will speak. The Vice Chairperson of, I beg your pardon, the Vice President Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, Jagdeep Dhankar, will speak. The Speaker will speak. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, Mallikarjun Kharge, and also importantly, Maneka Gandhi, as well as Shibu Soren and Dr. Manmohan Singh. Maneka Gandhi being the longest serving parliamentarian as far as the Lok Sabha is concerned, Dr. Manmohan Singh from the Rajya Sabha, and Shibu Soren, who's been the longest as far as both houses combined are concerned. And after the ceremony is over by about 12:30, we expect that the Prime Minister, along with his entourage of ministers led by the Parliamentary Affairs Minister, will proceed from the old building to the new building, just a short walk towards the Makar Dwar, and he will be holding, we're told, the Constitution, the handbook in his hand as he makes his way over there. And then again, of course, as proceedings commence at about 1:15 p.m. in the Lok Sabha and 2:15 p.m. in the Rajya Sabha, there'll be speeches that will be made by, of course, the Prime Minister as leader of the Lok Sabha, Piyush Goyal as leader of the House in the Rajya Sabha, and Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary in the Lok Sabha, and Mallikarjun Kharge in the Rajya Sabha.
Okay,
Rahul.
thanks, Paulami. Thanks, Himanshu. Our team is on the ground. We will break what happens in the cabinet first. I have some sense of what's happening. The reason I'm keeping my cards very close to my chest is because the government likes to spring surprises, and what we think is happening may ultimately not be what's happening at all. So I just want to keep all that on the side and put our guests on the spot. Shehzad Poonawalla, your national spokesperson of the BJP, do you have any idea of what the cabinet is discussing? Can you give our viewers the inside track, Shehzad?
Rahul, even if I were to, let's assume for a moment, beat your dream team of Paulami and Himanshu, who are the best at covering the BJP, and I knew, you know that my party diktat would be to not reveal any information, and I don't have such kind of information. But Rahul, you're well versed with how governments operate. These days, information doesn't get leaked either to journalists or to spokespersons like me. The cabinet carries a certain bit of confidentiality. Whatever will be decided will be put in front of the nation. And in fact, this has been the trend. Everyone was saying that there's a secret agenda of Parliament. 5 days before the session commenced, the agenda was put out in detail. Why it is a special session is well known before us, because we are now moving to the new Parliament building on the occasion of Ganesh Chaturthi. And I think it is the best time that could have been chosen, because in Maharashtra, we believe is Vigna. So who better than to actually take the blessings from when you are starting something as a new journey? And apart from that, the question today is, why are some people still continuing to be Vigna Santoshi even when we are moving to the new Parliament? Today, the Prime Minister spoke like a Rashtra Neta, like a statesman. Rahul, he gave us a complete kaleidoscope of events and achievements of Parliament, from Nehruji to the current government, from Rajendra Prasadji to Draupadi Murmuji. But what did we hear from Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge? And I'm sorry to say, Rahul, I must bring this up. I respect Mr. Kharge a lot, but the way he tried to undermine G20, which even you and the fiercest critics of this government will acknowledge is one of the most important achievements for the entire world, to call it G2, I think it showed that even on such occasions, Congress can't put politics below national interest. It keeps putting Parivar above everything else, whether it's showing Sonia Gandhi as Bharat Mata, or whether it is reducing a day like this.
I've just seen a tweet from the Congress, which seems to be putting the cart before the horse. They're demanding the women's reservation bill be brought. Now, I want to tell our viewers that before this, we've seen from the Vice President, the President, the RSS Chief comments about the need for reservation for women in legislatures, leading many to believe that maybe this cabinet meeting that's on at this moment is really about increasing the reservation for women MPs. And that's why we're seeing now, Shama, the Congress come out and demand that there be the passage of the women's reservation bill in the Lok Sabha. You're basically trying to put the government under pressure on what you think is actually their agenda, so you can claim credit for it later. Is that what's up?
Rahul, you said that we want to claim credit for it. See, who got in reservations in Panchayati Raj? Now it's almost 50%. I mean, I always participate whenever there's a corporation election in my state, and I also campaign. So I know exactly if this year it's a woman, the next year that seat goes to a man, another seat where it's a man, it goes to a woman. So it's 50% there, and that's gotten by Rajiv Gandhi. And in 2010, under Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and the leadership of Sonia Gandhi ji, we passed it in the Rajya Sabha. Mrs. Gandhi wanted to pass it in Lok Sabha. We did not have the numbers. Now, the Bharatiya Janata Party, in 2014, in their manifesto, they said that we will pass the Women's Reservation Bill. In 2019 manifesto, they said they will pass the Women's Reservation Bill. So we have said in our CWC resolution yesterday, we want it passed. We really want it passed. We are the ones who started this Women's Reservation Bill. And at that point of time, they were against it. And we really want this passed. And the ball is in their court. They have the numbers in the Lok Sabha. The Rajya Sabha bill is still not lapsed. They have the numbers and they just could easily pass. The Prime Minister of India keep saying beti bachao beti padhao, to kar do na betiyon ke liye kuch bhi arakshan de do is what we are saying. The other thing he said this, the Prime Minister spoke as a statesman and he was talking against Mr. Kharge. This statesman has not visited Manipur. Yesterday, an army soldier was abducted from his house and murdered. Do you understand that, Shehzad Poonawala? Last week, there were 3 of Kuki people were murdered. Before that, 2 Meiteis, a father was picked up from his home, kidnapped and murdered.
Okay.
What is going on in Manipur?
Okay.
And you
So,
tell that the Prime
Rajat
Minister of India
Sethi,
speaks like a statesman? We
this
want to know.
okay?
And
Give me a moment. I'm coming back to Shama in a moment. Rajat Sethi, is this a good thing? You know, there is this massive curiosity, suspense over what will happen. From what I'm told by our sources, most of the cabinet ministers didn't really know what the agenda was. They came into parliament and the agenda was placed before them. Now, if that is correct, you know, building this kind of hype, if it's legislation, let's assume at the end of it, if it's the Women's Reservation Bill, that's been in the pipeline for so many decades. Why build so much suspense around it? What's cooking? Is this a good thing? Okay, the cabinet meeting has ended. Just one second, Rajat, before you respond. Cabinet meeting has ended. It went on for an hour and a half. I don't know just at this moment what's been decided, and I don't want to speculate, but we'll come back to them. Till then, Rajat, it's great television. All this suspense, the mystery, the rahasya is great for us. But is this really good governance?
Well, over the past 9 years, we've come to realize that there is a sense of suspense which is maintained around important policy measures. And, look at the criteria. Some of them have succeeded, some of them haven't succeeded. For example,
but which decision taken in suspense succeeded according to you?
Well, I mean, suspense for the larger audience, but I think there is enough amount of groundwork which goes into each one of them. The results are mixed, but overall, if you see, hard work has been put into each one of them. My understanding is that since this is the Sri Ganesh of a new parliament, we believe that at least something of a big bang has to be there, which can mark a new journey, which is distinctly different from how the parliament was run. Prime Minister Modi would want to leave a solid policy or a governance imprint on the first bill that gets introduced or gets passed from the new parliament. So from that perspective, at least I can, like all of you are guessing there, I can also make my guess that it would be something. It could also be, a change in the constitution, officially accepting Bharat as the only name, a civilizational name of the country. That too could be.
Okay, I've got more news coming in that there'll be no cabinet briefing today. Usually after a cabinet, sometimes there is a cabinet briefing. This time, though, there'll be no cabinet briefing. The suspense makes for fascinating television, Sanjay Jha. Does it make for good governance? Rajat Sethi makes the point there will be some big bang announcement and it is inevitable and required because there is the Sri Ganesh of a new parliament. Therefore, something dramatic has to happen over there, only then will it become memorable. Sanjay Jha.
Time Mr. Modi and Big Bang come together, I think the country has every reason to feel extremely nervous. We have 2 examples, disastrous examples, by the way, of demonetization. The lingering effects of that devastating pseudo economics is something that India has paid through its nose, and the poor in particular have bled through it. So we know that demonetization disaster was one of these big surprises when Mr. Modi pulled on the country. The second was the lockdown, and nobody will ever forget the tragic sight of migrants walking home while the politicians in New Delhi, of course, lived in the comfort of their Lutyens' air-conditioned comfort. The bottom line is this, that I feel, Rahul, that this is an insult of this great democracy. You know, you had Narendra Modi as the Prime Minister of India come and say that whatever has been put out in the public domain in terms of the legislative agenda is not the entire story. right? So the Prime Minister of this country, who represents 303 members in parliament, 37% of the popular vote, fair enough, that he's keeping a large part of India in the dark in what he believes are historic decisions. I think this mocks democracy and establishes what L.K. Advani famously said about Narendra Modi. He's an event manager. And perhaps he's an exceptional event management
Let Shehzad
person.
Poonawala
That's
respond.
about
If these are historic decisions, why keep India in the dark? Why so much suspense? Shehzad.
Rahul, with all due respect, the two examples Sanjay just cited, demonetization and lockdown, were both executive decisions. They weren't actually legislative decisions. There was no question of bringing them to parliament, and demonetization was subsequently upheld by the Supreme Court. So I guess because the verdict was not favorable, now you diss the Supreme Court. But having said that, let me come to the point. Look, Rahul, anything that follows constitutional and parliamentary procedure as it was envisaged, how is it a defrauding of the democracy? Defrauding of democracy, Rahul, and I'm sorry, today there are no historians on your debate. Usually you have top-class historians, would tell you that on 24th of June, Indira Gandhi consults the president, imposes emergency and calls for a cabinet meeting at 6 a.m. on 25th of June, and post facto takes a ratification of the cabinet. That's an insult and a mockery of democracy. Now, having said that, let me come to the original point Shama just made. Shama said, by the way, in Rajya Sabha, Shamaji, and I hope you won't interrupt me, we as the BJP supported the bill entirely. That's why it was passed in Rajya Sabha in 2010. By the way, Atal Bihari Vajpayee brought it in 98, 99 and 2003. You all didn't support. But when it was supposed to go to Lok Sabha, you did not have the courage. You had the numbers. You had a government till 2014. The fact is that you did not bring it to Lok Sabha because SP, RJD and JDU, all of them opposed the current form of the bill which has been passed by Rajya Sabha. In fact, today itself, Ram Gopal Yadav and the Samajwadi Party spokespersons whom I have been on multiple debates, and I'm sorry there's none on the show right now, Rahul, but you can confirm it from your people. They have all said we do not agree with the current bill which Pawan Kheda, Jairam Ramesh and Shama Mohammed have asked us to bring to Parliament. So Shama, first tell me, what is the India Alliance's stand on this current bill? Is Samajwadi Party on board with the current draft of the Rajya Sabha bill that has been passed? Point number two is that, ma'am, what is your intention? You had said 40% reservation for women in places where we come to power. You have 46 ministers in Himachal and Karnataka, and you know how many women have been made ministers? One. Shama Mohammed, I think talk is cheap. Walk the talk. Why don't you make 30%?
Okay, let Shama Mohammed respond to the fact that parties like the RJD, parties like the Samajwadi Party aren't on board with the women's reservation bill as it existed previously. Now, the government could bring in a new bill. I'm already hearing different theories about new formulations, but in the bill that came last, key members of your India Alliance don't support it.
Yeah, so this is what Shehzad Poonawala is saying, but I have not heard from the Samajwadi Party, and I don't.
But they opposed it last time as well. We know that RJD opposed it very strongly last time.
Wait. I know that's what we didn't have the numbers. That's what I'm clearly saying. Now he keeps saying that we could pass it. We could not because we didn't have the numbers in Lok Sabha. I can ask you a question right now. You have the numbers in Lok Sabha, isn't it, Shehzad? So pass it. The Prime Minister of India talks about Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao every other day. Number two, we had a PCC president who is no more in our party in UP, Rita Bahuna Goshi. We had Kumari Selja as PCC president in Haryana. Haryana, as you know, is a state where women feticide is very high. So we are the first woman prime minister. We are the first woman president. We are the one who got in the Pratibha Patil, the first woman president. First woman speaker, Meera Kumar, the Congress party got in. So what are you talking about, Shehzad Poonawala? We have given women importance. We have fought for women all the time. Now, I want to ask you, why cannot you put this bill out? And what is the reason for this special session? I mean, all the time in India, the history of India, special session is for a reason. Starting from 1947, when we got independence, or 1972, when it was 25 years of independence, 1992, 50 years of Quit India movement. So there were special occasions when we have called the special session of Parliament.
Okay.
Here the problem is you're going to a new Parliament when the 16th Lok Sabha only 330 days and 17th Lok Sabha 231 days. Just one last point. Any bills through the standing committee from 2019 to 21, only 13% bills have gone to standing committee. Whereas from 2009 to 2014, 72%.
Okay,
so
just stay with me for a moment, and I want our viewers to listen very carefully, because one of the theories that's doing the rounds is because parties like the RJD, the Samajwadi Party are not on board with 33% reservation, which will mean that 33% of the 543 seats in the Lok Sabha will get reserved for women alone. Therefore, what is being discussed is that you could have the dual member system. Now, this is an idea that the Bharatiya Stri Shakti, the BSS, came up with. What this essentially means is that you have a certain number of seats where you have one male MP and you have a female MP. And this goes back to 1950-51, when elections happened in 51-52. There were 314 parliamentary constituencies which had only one Lok Sabha seat. There were 86 constituencies which had 2 seats. What that means is you have one general category candidate, one general category seat. In that same area, you have one SC/ST candidate. So therefore, on that same seat, which 86 out of the total, you have one SC/ST candidate and you have one general category candidate. These are called dual member seats. This is an idea that the BSS came up in 2009, saying that if you can't find a resolution, can this then be the solution? So you don't change the boundaries of the Lok Sabha seats. The seats are still 543. You add 33% extra seats where you pick by certain criteria. For example, it could be by population, it could be by geography. Certain number of seats in each state then get classified as dual member seats. Ranjana Kumari joins us, well-known women's rights activist. Does this serve the purpose, Ranjana ji? This idea of the Bharatiya Stri Shakti of 2009, that you have these dual member seats. We had it from 51. It continued till about 1961 when it was abolished by legislation. Then you had separate SC/ST seats. Till then you had these dual member seats. Does this work for you?
Well, Rahul, first of all, this bill, which is at the moment, which was passed by Rajya Sabha in 2010, is a bill which was well considered in the leadership of Geeta Mukherjee. The parliamentary committee went around the country. Everybody's opinion was sought. And finally, of course, the bill was drafted and it reserves seats only for 15 years. So it's really not that indefinite period women want that space. It becomes very, very important now for the special session to pass it for 2 reasons. One, that we have in our declaration in G20 have told the world that India believes in women-led development. Even when China had reservation about this language, because it is not a UN language, there is nothing called women-led development. But we have tried to convince the world that India believes in
so can I pause you for a second and say that ideally women's rights activists such as yourself would want 33% of the 543 to be reserved. That met with opposition last time.
There are 2 ways of doing it.
So if there is a new formulation that you don't disturb the 543, you create dual member seats where there are 2 members on 33% of the seats. Does that serve the purpose for you?
Well, Rahul, that experiment failed.
Why?
Because, when it failed because when it came to Dalit seats separately and voting like that, people did not really choose to vote for both. They chose only to vote for the upper caste candidates. And then it did not really serve the purpose of representing those castes. And that is why it had to be changed. If you go
no,
into
but
the
that was 1950, 1960 ka India. This is 2023. Maybe things have changed since.
Let me tell you, there are 2 other very good way of doing it. Now that we have a 780 seat parliament, new parliament building, there was problem of seating, this, that, and the other. Now we have an opportunity to have women. Additional seats should be given to women. That's what I will say.
No, but that's the same thing. So you get 179 seats added, 179 to the 543. And remember, in parliament, about 800 MPs can sit. So 179 plus 543, 722. So you just expand the parliament and it's the kind of formulation that nobody can seem to oppose.
Yes, because the fear was why it could not go through. One was, of course, the reason for the OBC quota and the Muslim women. We have agreed. We are saying give it to Dalit women, give it to OBC women, give it to Muslim women, give it to all women, but it should be reserved for women only. So that's the first agreement that was arrived at. That is why it was passed in Rajya Sabha. Number 2, that when you have so many seats now, then where is the difficulty? Nobody is going to lose the seat. Most of them.
So you're in agreement with this, Sanjay Jha? Could this be the game-changing formulation which creates consensus, makes it difficult for parties like the RJD, the Samajwadi Party to say no, because you don't redraw